we've got Marc Elliot on with us now. Thanks for joining us, Marc. It sounds like you've got a talk coming up. Why don't you give us the details on that?
Great, Troy. Thanks for having me back. Hey there, Eduardo. So next Wednesday at noon, I'm going to be putting on a presentation called "Who's Next: The Rise of Character Assassination and Loss of Human Decency."
And that's Wednesday the 29th?
Wednesday the 29th in Chelsea. And for me, it's really coming full circle as I promoted this presentation 3 years ago, actually, almost 3 years to the date, June 26th, right near the end of the Keith Raniere's trial. It was actually after I started promoting it at the end, and then it was going to be a few weeks, ended up being a few weeks after. And in just promoting it, and it's a presentation ultimately about, what we're doing to each other, the power of words, and how we control people's reputation with what we do and say. And by simply promoting that presentation, one of the federal prosecutors, Moira Kimpenza, she had called my lawyer at the time and basically threatened that I would be indicted if I went through with the presentation.
Wait, what? So you're not under indictment at that time?
Well, not only was I not under indictment, the trial was over. But I, as you know, you've talked extensively with Eduardo about the media, the prosecution, and people against us there was a very strong narrative against us, basically around the world. And they were doing whatever they could to silence and suppress anything that could counter the narrative that NXIVM or Keith Raniere, anything associated with it was not good. Because, my story about beating Tourette syndrome with NXIVM, helping other people beat Tourette's, is completely antithetical that we hurt people, that NXIVM is an organization that destroys people.
Well, and it sounds like that narrative became sort of a sacred groupthink belief system, and it doesn't hold up to counter evidence.
It doesn't hold up to counter evidence. And if you have any person that's willing to have a 2-minute conversation, it doesn't hold that much water very quickly. And again, my experience with the Tourette's, as we talked about before, it's not unique per se in what people experience in NXIVM. It's just a very palpable example. And I think that's why I was threatened. They just don't want anyone to imagine anything other than NXIVM, Keith Raniere. Everything is just horrible. As again, you've talked extensively with Eduardo, as it's coming out now that the FBI tampered. They had a very, very flimsy and thin case, and so they didn't want anything to challenge it. So, that happened about 3 years ago. And so I'm really excited to be able to come back out, put on the presentation, use my experience of beating Tourette's and with NXIVM, and show the power of what character assassination did to the Tourette's Project and other projects working with NXIVM. And then also just a solution of talking about, okay, what do you do when you have a problem with somebody? And looking at what if you're wrong? And then even in a worst case scenario, that when something horrible happened, how do you still want to conduct yourself in those circumstances? As right now we live in a world where it's, we're very mean and destructive to each other, not really thinking about the consequences of how we try to resolve differences.
So tell us a bit more about the talk and the details of where people can find out more about it, and maybe a link.
So the link for it is marcelliot.com. It's my name, marcelliot.com/who's next. Okay. And if you go to that link, it has the address in Chelsea, but it's going to be at 12 o'clock. It'll be a little bit over an hour. And for anyone that wants to stay, there also will be a Q&A.